Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast. My name is Adina. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and in these weekly videos, I go over the energies for the week ahead. And in this video, we will be going over the energy for February 26th to March 3rd, 2024. We are coming into another pretty big week energetically. This week is going to be very karmically driven. The previous week, last week, we had our Venus-Mars conjunction in Aquarius. And as we come into the week, this week, we have Mercury in Pisces. We're just coming off of the Venus-Mars conjunction and the full moon in Virgo, which was ruled by Mercury. And make sure you check that full moon forecast out. I go into all 12 rising signs and I talk a lot about how, especially with this full moon in Virgo, really developing an understanding of how much you have changed internally, especially when it has to do with your emotions and your mindset, because it is Virgo and because it is ruled by Mercury. And at the time of the new moon in Virgo, September of 2023, we had Mercury retrograde in Virgo at that time, and all of the outer planets retrograde. So, and that new moon in Virgo was connecting to most of the outer planets. It was opposing Neptune. It was even connecting to Pluto. So there's a lot going on right now where we are understanding how far we've come really over the last 6 months on a spiritual level, on a mental level, emotional level. And having this week, having our Mercury Cazimi in Pisces with Saturn at 9 degrees of Pisces, which we'll get into, there's something very karmic about this energy that we're navigating this week. And I really think that we will feel almost like the buildup over the weekend and almost like something really kind of developing with that full moon in Virgo, and then having a better understanding as we kind of move through the week. So we have Mercury and Pisces, and I wanted to touch on that energy for a little bit because Mercury does not do the greatest in Pisces. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, very much about the mind and mindset and thinking and focusing, and Pisces is just so mutable and not that type of energy. So having Mercury and Pisces, it can be very different. It can be very difficult to focus or to really I feel have the discernment, but it's not even really that. It's making decisions and having, and that's another thing too with the full moon energy, where I talked a lot about how it was almost like these opposing elements where it's like your mind is against your emotions. It's like how you're feeling is one way, but then your mind is telling you something different because there was this opposition with the moon and Mercury. And that's very much what we're in, where we feel one thing, but it's very hard to pinpoint exactly what that is or how to go after it or the direction to move in. And that can be, some of this Pisces energy. However, Pisces or a Mercury and Pisces energy. However, Mercury and Pisces is very great for creativity, imagination, intuition. We can be feeling really sensitive at this time, very empathic because of all the energy kind of moving into Pisces. We are now in Pisces season. Plus, of course, we have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, and now Mercury in Pisces. And we are eventually going to have Venus entering Pisces in a couple of weeks. And so we're moving from all of this mental analytical type of energy to very free flowing, not knowing exactly what to do, which direction to move in. So we really want to be leaning on our intuition and spirituality at this time, just because, that's what is supporting us at the moment. Now we are also moving off of the Chiron North Node conjunction exact. Of course, they are still, close together, but they're not at the same degree point anymore. This shifted and this changed on the 24th on Saturday. So we were in that energy for about 2 weeks, and there may have been a lot of old wounds or traumas coming to the surface, but there was huge amounts of healing taking place. You may find on a personal level, this is an Aries, this has to do with your individual self, who you are, and individuality, your uniqueness. And there may have been something coming up where you realized where your old wounds and trauma may have prevented you from moving forward or becoming the real you. And so I would love to hear your stories in the comments below with this Chiron North Node conjunction and how this really showed up for all of you the past couple of weeks. Now, yes, we're still, in this energy, but it's not as intense. It's almost like over the last 2 weeks, we had some realizations and understanding of what we no longer want to carry with us. Remember, that North Node is very karmic, and it really has to do with the direction that we're moving into. So there was a lot of healing taking place on emotions and energy that you were not meant to carry any further. You're done with it. This was a done with, no more. I'm not moving forward with this energy. I'm not allowing it to block me anymore, really. Now on Monday, we have the moon in Libra. So the moon is now out of Virgo. We're out of the full moon energy as we come into Monday and have the moon in Libra. But what we do have is a Mars square to Jupiter. And we want to remember that Mars is the ruler of the North Node right now. So Mars is also ruling how we're taking action and moving forward in a very karmic way. So there might be something, and this is an energy we'll be in Monday and Tuesday, because even coming into Tuesday, and then actually they square again because Jupiter is going to move to 11 degrees, and that's even on Wednesday. So we're really in that energy Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, most intensely. So when we're talking about Mars, we're always talking about our motivation, our willpower, drive, anger, aggression, conflict, how we are taking action, because Mars is the ruler of the North Node. This can be very karmically driven, like I mentioned, and squaring Jupiter, which is the planet that amplifies and expands everything. We really want to watch for impulsiveness. We want to watch for too much too fast, making sure we're not jumping ahead on a whim, on where maybe we don't have all the answers yet, or maybe we don't know everything, because remember, there's a lot of energy in Pisces right now, so things may seem one way, and we have to be, fairly cautious of this right now. But that's an energy that you want to be just aware of, especially with communication and stuff, because of that Mars square to Jupiter. Now, this, of course, is going to be something that we see on a collective level. I would not be surprised if we see something like a world event take place this week with this Mars square to Jupiter at the beginning of the week. So we want to watch for that. But in our own individual lives, we just want to make sure that we kind of know the direction ahead before moving forward, because like I mentioned, sometimes Jupiter can have us, the Jupiter square, it amplifies everything, and it can be amplifying the impulsiveness or the assertiveness, or what I mean, all that Mars energy. Now, another thing I do want to mention too is that this could very much also have to do with values and beliefs. People getting into arguments about their beliefs and their personal values. So we want to watch for that as well. That may be something that we see more of actually amplify this week with the Venus-Mars conjunction that just took place in Aquarius. And we want to remember that Aquarius rules the collective, the people, humanity, society as a whole. And so even with this Mars square to Jupiter, because we're coming off of Venus already squared Jupiter, and then we're having the Mars square to Jupiter a couple days later. And so we may see a lot of people rising up, a lot of people starting to protest, or starting to really take action based on personal beliefs, values, ideologies can also come into effect. Freedom fighters can also be rising up, right? So this is something we can really start to see amplify. Now, on Tuesday, we are going to have the moon in Libra form a conjunction to the south node and at the same time have the Mercury Cazimi. Mercury is going to form a conjunction to the sun at 8 degrees of Pisces, and we have Saturn sitting at 9 degrees of Pisces. Now, once we get to Wednesday, we will have Mercury, the sun, and Saturn all at 9 degrees, and that is when that energy becomes a lot more intense. So, Mercury Cazimis are a time where we can really receive some clarity or an understanding or insight on something. This is our mindset. This can be intuitive downloads, epiphanies. There can really be some clarity developed here. And in Pisces, which is the last sign of the zodiac, and with Saturn, so there's definitely something ending here. There's something completing. There's something coming to, it could be a complete stop. But I really look at this energy as ending karmic cycles. So you really want to check to see where you have Pisces in your birth chart around 8 and 9 degrees of Pisces, because there can be something very karmically ending in that area of life, or there can be, and I'm even feeling like intuitively it's on an energetic or spiritual level, there can be something completing. And this is also too where I feel, because Saturn has not been in Pisces for about 30 years, 29 years, which Saturn's already been there for almost a year. So but I would say about 30 years we've had this, and this could be a cycle that is literally played out. And depending on how old you are, this could be a cycle that began 30 years ago that is completing. So really sit with this kind of knowledge and sit with this energy and think back on think how could this really be showing up for me. I know for me, for example, I'm kind of getting a better understanding of how I really think. I have Saturn transiting my 7th house of relationships, and I'm really becoming accountable of my own energy, what I put into relationships, the unhealed versions of myself that has played out within relationships, and really healing those parts of myself. And that's almost what I've realized with Saturn in my 7th house. And this can show up for everyone differently, but really sitting and reflecting and thinking, because Saturn being in Pisces, Saturn wants you to take accountability and responsibility for your energy, right? It's spiritual maturity, and knowing that what you put out in the universe is going to come back at you. And that is really what Saturn's showing us with this, Saturn transit through Pisces. So this week is a week of karmic endings, karmic cycles, ending, completions, final understandings. And I would love to hear in the comments below how this energy is showing up for all of you, because this is a very unique transit. So for my own research purposes, I would love to hear how this week plays out in your own individual lives. We also want to keep in mind too that this Pisces energy is being disposited by Jupiter and Neptune. So Neptune is very strong, as Neptune is in its home sign of Pisces with Saturn, the Sun, and Mercury. But Jupiter is in Taurus, which is helping a little bit to ground the energy in. But what this shows is that we could lean on our personal values and wisdom that we've really gained over the years to, help us kind of navigate some of this energy. Now, once we get to Thursday, we're going to have Mercury form a sextile to Jupiter. So that's really going to help bring some insight and optimism into our experience, and especially with whatever this Cazimi energy is bringing up for us. When we have Mercury form that sextile to Jupiter, there truly can be some supportive energy coming in to help navigate through this karmic cycle is the best way I kind of want to put it, or even on how it's almost like what I'm feeling is very interesting because it's like there's something coming to an end, but then there is this beautiful supportive insight coming in to help guide you through the new beginning. I hope that makes sense. Now, at the same time, we're going to have Venus forming a trine to the south node and a sextile to the north node, and Venus is the dispositor of the south node. So again, it's bringing in this really beautiful supportive energy. Venus also ruling Taurus, which is, dispositing Jupiter. So it's really bringing in this supportive energy on what to release, what to let go of, what you are done with, and what can truly help guide you into this new direction, this new beginning, this new journey. Now, Friday is a really big day emotionally because we do have the sun forming a sextile to Jupiter, which is going to be great for intuitive downloads, insights, feeling that optimistic energy to move forward. But emotionally, we're kind of going through a little bit of intense energy because we're going to have the moon in Scorpio, and the moon is going to square Mars, square Venus, and then oppose Uranus. And then Venus is going to form a sextile to Chiron. So Venus sextiling Chiron can be really an opportunity for healing, whatever you've been moving through with this North Node Chiron conjunction. Venus can be bringing in some support for that. It's our emotions we want to watch, because when we have the moon in Scorpio, which can be extremely intense, we can be obsessing over something or becoming very methodical, which it depends. Sometimes that can be good, sometimes it can be bad, right? But the moon in Scorpio is just a very intense energy, and we have to be careful that we're not like obsessing over something, and especially squaring Mars. We do want to watch for conflict, anger, aggression, taking action based on some intense emotional experience. So Friday is really big for emotions. And then when we have the moon oppose Uranus, we can have just a lot of instability. Uranus can bring, it could be some, intuitive energy going on there, but I feel like it could just be emotions a little bit all over the place. So we do just want to watch our emotional experience on Friday. And also, I just want to add that now with Scorpio energy, it can feel a little bit different because Scorpio, the ruler of Scorpio is Pluto, and Pluto is now in Aquarius. So we also want to keep in mind that is adding a little bit of a different feel when we've got the moon transiting through Scorpio as well as the other signs, where before Pluto was in Capricorn, which was really kind of grounding in the experience we were having with the Scorpio transits, where now Pluto is in Aquarius. So we want to be paying attention to how that's showing up for us. How are you feeling during that moon in Scorpio transit with Pluto in Aquarius? Because this is an energy we'll be in for 20 years. So we do want to start paying attention to those little kind of energy shifts that we're now in, because again, we're going to be in it for 20 years. Now we're not going to have we won't be able, because Pluto re-enters Capricorn in September, but then enters into Aquarius again in November. So that is Scorpio season. So we will have our first sun in Scorpio come fall with Pluto. So that'll be interesting. So we will also get a feel at the end of 2024 having the other planets transit Scorpio, because once Pluto re-enters Aquarius at the end of the year in November, I believe it's November 1st, Pluto's there then for 20 years. Pluto's only re-entering Capricorn for 2 months from September to November. So, but we want to start paying attention to those little changes having Pluto in Aquarius. And this is not something that is just going to be some sudden shift, right? Like Pluto is going to be there for 20 years. So this is something we will feel a build up to. And then on Saturday, we will have Saturday, March 2nd. So we're now into March by the time we reach the end of the week. On Saturday, we're going to have Venus forming a square to Uranus. And so this is where there can really be some, shaking up around relationships, finances that we want to be aware of, cautious of, especially Saturday. There can be, especially still having Venus in Aquarius, there really really can be, and also too, keeping in mind that when we're talking about these Venus, and this just came to me intuitively, so I'm going to kind of say it, but when we're talking about Venus and Mars transits, we always want to keep in mind that these are the rulers of the nodes right now. So Venus is ruling the south node. So when Venus forms a square to Uranus, there could be something very unexpected showing up from the past. There could be something very unexpected showing up that you're having to be done with, that you're having to let go, that you're having to release. It could be very karmic because we're talking about the nodes. And we're also starting to approach the intense eclipse energy, which will be still a couple of weeks, but we have our full moon lunar eclipse in Libra March 25th. So, we're starting to get to, and then we have Mercury stationing retrograde on the 1st. So we really only have about a good 4 more weeks of really good energy pushing forward. As once we get, to be honest, I usually say it's about 2 weeks before the eclipse, we really start to feel what this eclipse is going to bring us. So, starting in 2 weeks, we're going to start to feel that eclipse energy coming in. And I'll talk more about that as we get closer to that day. And I'll also be talking about that in my monthly rising sign horoscopes. But we will start to feel the build up to whatever this eclipse is going to bring us. And I'm kind of getting ahead of the game, but think back to the new moon solar eclipse that we had in October of 2023 and what was initiated, what started for you. There's something completing with this full moon lunar eclipse. There could be something ending, or I hear some astrologers say that there's something that could be ending, and I think it's because it's an eclipse, but I look at it as like it's the next milestone to the story that is playing out through the nodal journey in Aries and Libra. So there's more to whatever started back in October of 2023. Now, collectively, that was a really intense time because we had a lot going on in the world at that time back in October. And so there can be more around that also showing up very shortly too. So my final thoughts for the week ahead is we could have some very intense information coming out, and we already are starting to see a lot of intense information. There's actually a lot surfacing right now with what has taken place over the last 4 years. There's a lot coming out, and some people can say this has to do with the Pluto and Aquarius energy, and it does. And it also has to do with this Pisces energy. But this week there could be some really more powerful information and messages showing up for the collective. Now, I've already mentioned we can start to see more people rising and protesting, possibly riots with the Mars square to Jupiter. It can definitely be a thing. So we want to be watching for that. And in our own individual lives, we want to really start to take accountability for our energy and what we are bringing into our experience, because that is what Saturn in Pisces wants us to own. That is what Saturn in Pisces is really teaching us and showing us, and what we're really going to get a feel for this week. And then we will have Venus entering Pisces, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. Venus is going to enter Pisces over the next few weeks, which can be an amazing energy for Venus, but it's going to be with Saturn. And there we're going to have more karmic realizations around relationships or money or finances or personal values and self-love and self-worth. And that is what this really comes down to, especially with Jupiter dispositing all of that and Neptune dispositing all of that Pisces energy, and Jupiter being in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. This really all goes back to our self-love and self-worth and where we can lack in that department, and how that can really prevent us from moving forward in certain areas of our life. So I hope that this helps you navigate the energies for the week ahead. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will connect with you all in the next one.